All right, shalom to the elect of Israel. I want to start by giving all the praises, honor, and glory to whom it rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that were well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect of Israel. And this lesson is going to go into this is another one of the milk series lessons. The basics. All right, just going over it. If you want to find more videos like this, you could just go to first off, you could look up other brothers' lessons that they've done on it. But this video is going to be a part of a playlist going into basically some of the basics that we learn of when we come to truth. Okay, and you could just, if you want to find the playlist, you could just go to my page, this YouTube page that this video is playing on. All right, my page, and go to playlists. All right, and it should say milk series or milk topics, with a glass of milk there. All right, but this lesson is going into basically, are we allowed to eat just anything? Okay, are there foods we can or can't eat? Because this is what a lot of people in the world don't understand. They think they could just eat anything, and say they love the Lord, and that's false. All right, because the Lord is a righteous power. He deals with order. Okay, and He has laws, and He gave them to the nation of Israel. Psalm 147, verses 19 and 20. All right, and part of those laws include things that we can and can't eat, and that's just how it is. Okay, so the Bible tells us about foods that we can and can't eat, unlike Christianity, which says you can eat any and everything. Okay, so what can we eat and not eat? All right, now I'm going to go in through it, try to be brief, not too long. Okay, but there are foods, you have to understand that there are foods that we are allowed to eat and not allowed to eat. All right, so let's take a look. Among the beasts is the book of Leviticus, and this whole chapter, basically goes into it, but I'm going to be just hitting the points about, the things we're allowed to eat and not eat. Leviticus chapter 11, starting in verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud, among the beasts that shall ye eat. All right, and you can look up a picture of cloven-footed. For example, like a deer's hoof, if it has, among the beasts, they have a hoof like that. That's cloven-footed. Okay, and they have to eat. They have to chew the cud. Eat greenery, grass, plants, things like that. All right, that's lawful. Those are lawful animals that we can eat. All right, it says, Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof. So, yet there's restrictions. It says, As the camel, because he cheweth the cud, he but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean to you. Camel will eat greenery, but his hoof, not divided. All right, so the Lord said he's unclean to us, so we're not supposed to eat that. And the coney, which a coney, was a hyrax. All right, I'm going to show pictures in a minute. This is in the coney, because he cheweth the cud, he'll eat greenery, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. All right, he doesn't divide the hoof, etc. It says in the hare, which is like a rabbit, kind of, it says, Because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, which is a pig, and our people are heavy into eating pork, all right? But it's actually a sin to eat it, which you're going to find out in a minute. It says, in the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, all right? Because a pig's foot is cloven-footed, all right? If you look at it, it says, Yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Yeah, he gonna chew, a pig will eat anything, man. Okay, it's a foul, vile animal that no person should ingest or digest, rather. You know, it's a sin. Okay, Leviticus 11:8. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you. Okay, and once again, these are laws, part of the laws that are given to us Israelites. Okay, and in the future, when the kingdom comes, all nations are going to be following the laws of the Most High. So all nations are going to one day be eating clean food, whereas to now you look at some of these nations around the world, they'll eat, for example, the so-called Chinese, they'll eat, cats, dogs, rats, things like that. And these other nations, they'll just eat anything, man. Even some of our people, they'll, eat crazy things, okay? But they're going off when they do that, So when you come into this truth, and you know better, and you realize, and you learn, you're supposed to change and stop doing that. But let's move on. All right, so this is, the camel. Okay, this is what the coney looks like, the hyrax. All right, this is the hare. All right, and last, I want to say least, the swine. Okay, the pig. These are things you're not supposed to eat. Remember, whatever's cloven-footed and, chews the cud, eating the greenery and stuff like that, we can eat. Now, among the seas, Leviticus chapter 11, verses 9 through 12. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. So whatever has fins and scales is what have to have both. If they have that, then we can eat them. It says, and all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. Okay? So they have to have, fins and scales. It's not really hard to understand. All right? A lot of people don't want to do it. You have to have fins and scales. Like, for example, this is a whiting fish. Okay? This is a clean fish. It has fins. Okay? And it has scales on it. This is a clean fish. Okay? But, and the thing is, a lot of our people, they're into seafood, man. For some reason, they're into all types of seafood. Calamari, all different types of stuff, man. Crabs, shrimp, lobsters, And sometimes they'll call it fine dining. All right? And the Lord sees all of this, and I guarantee you I can more than guarantee you, because it's going against the law. Okay? He is very, very, very unhappy with this, when our people eat these things. Okay? You're not supposed to. It's things you can and can't eat. All right? Our people, come together and eat things like this and call it having seafood broils and things like that. It's going off. Now, among the birds, Leviticus 11, verses 13 through 19, and these are they which ye shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle and the ossifrage and the osprey and the vulture and the kite after his kind, every raven after his kind, and the owl and the nighthawk and the cuckow and the hawk after his kind. You could look these birds up. All right, it says, and the little owl and the cormorant and the great owl and the swan and the pelican and the deer or gear eagle, however you say that, and the stork, the heron after her kind, and the lapwing and the bat. And after his kind means even the different types of those animals we can't eat. Okay, for example, you have different types of bats, different types of eagles, different types of ravens. None of those you can eat. Okay? And these laws aren't man-made. These are from the Lord. Okay? Now, Leviticus 20 through 24, right, it says, all fowls that creep going upon all fours shall be an abomination unto you. All right? And fowls that creep, it's not talking about chicken, turkey, things like that. It's talking about, because creep goes basically going into crawling, okay? Creep and what? Insects, that can fly. All fowls that creep going upon all fours shall be an abomination unto you. However, verse 21, yet these may ye eat of every flying, creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. So the Lord did give us, certain insects that we can't eat, which is listed in that verse 22. All right, even though our people might not be comfortable eating it, it is lawful. All right, and as it says, after his kind, the different types of those as well. All right, but verse 23 says, but all other flying, creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. Verse 24, and for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass, meaning the dead body of them, shall be unclean until the even, until sundown. And once again, fowls that creep, note that fowls that creep doesn't mean chicken or turkey, etc. It means flying insects. And you look at that word creep, the Hebrew word is sharatazah, Strong's H8318, and part of the definition says teeming or swarming things, creepers, swarmers of insects. So don't let anybody try to tell you that fowls that creep talking about chicken, etc., turkeys, no. Alright. We're knowing. Now, animals with paws. Alright, Leviticus chapter 11, verses 27 to 28. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manner of beasts that go on all 4, those are unclean unto you. So you can't have, for example, cats like the heathens do, Chinese, Japanese. You can't eat no cats, dogs, lions, cougars, none of that. It says, whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manner of beasts that go on all 4, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until the even, and he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. Okay? So you're not supposed to be eating that. Alright? And furthermore, Leviticus 11, 29, 31, these also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth. And the thing is, it shouldn't be grievous real quick. This shouldn't be, something to, make you go like, why would you want to eat these certain things? Why would you want to eat a pig, a cat, a dog? Why would you want to eat that? Okay, so this shouldn't be something to grieve you. Leviticus 11 and 29. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret and the chameleon and the lizard and the snail and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them when they be dead shall be unclean until the even. Okay? Yeah. You're not supposed to be eating no ferrets, no mice, no weasels, tortoises, after his kind, chameleons, ferrets, all of that. You're not supposed to be eating those things. Alright? It said, there's also, regarding creeping things, in general, with the insects, no ants, man. People out here eating ants and stuff, or people in Africa. I saw a lady the other day on Instagram, collecting some type of flying insects, man, and cooking them in a pot out there in Africa. It's crazy. But Leviticus 11, 41 through 43, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, for example, a snake, slithers on his belly. You're not supposed to eat a snake. It says, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, once again, cats, dogs, lions, things like that, or whatsoever hath more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth. Like, for example, you got centipedes and different things with different insects with multiple legs. It says, them ye shall not eat, for they are an abomination. Ye shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall you make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be defiled thereby. This is straight from the Lord. Leviticus 11:44, for I am Yahweh your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. For I am Yahweh that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the beasts, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between what? The unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. Okay? So, all things cannot be eaten. There is an order to everything, right? There's things you can and cannot eat. It's just as simple as that. All right? Now, let's deal with a couple of scriptures that are misused to refute this. Now, this is one, that these Christians love to use, all right, to justify them eating, anything. 1 Timothy chapter 4, starting in verse 1. Now, the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times and Apostle Paul wrote this, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Right, so basically Apostle Paul is about to, start listing different things, different false, doctrine, basically different false things and false doctrines people are going to come up with. All right, keep that in mind. It says, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Now listen, verse 3, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats which the Most High hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. For every creature of the Most High is good, and nothing to be refused, if it be received with thanksgiving. For it is sanctified by the word of the Most High and prayer. Now, see, with that, Christians will say, see, so you can eat anything. So let's read that again from verse 3. Forbidding to marry. Once again, Apostle Paul is warning against doctrines that people would come up with, false doctrines that people will come up with. For example, there are some people out there, that, are heavy pushing the semen retention thing, forbidden to marry. See, marriage is sex according to the Bible. Genesis chapter 24 and verse 67. All right. You can't, make it a doctrine for someone not to have sex with a woman. Now there's guidelines on, having sex. You can't do certain things. All right. But telling a man and a woman they can't marry is wrong. Then it says, and commanding to abstain from meats which the Most High hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. And the understanding of this is that, as it says, to be received, all right? Not saying that you could just eat anything. No, it's talking about Apostle Paul is warning against people that would come up with a doctrine that say you can't eat certain lawful foods, aka foods that are to be received, that the Most High created. You see, for example, someone telling you can't eat chicken, turkey, etc., which we've seen before. We've seen people come up with stuff like that, right? That's what it's talking about. Verse 4, for every creature of the Most High is good, and nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving. See, so then when it says every creature of the Most High is good, Christians will say, well, see, every creature, okay, well, guess what? Humans are creatures, so are you supposed to eat a human? Can you eat a human? Is that lawful? No, it's not. Is that righteous for you to eat another human? No. Okay. Also, scriptures talk about in the law, you're not supposed to eat anything with the blood in it. You know? No, you can't eat no human. Okay? But humans are creatures of the Most High. So, this is talking about, this is every creature of the Most High is good. It's talking about what's within the lawful foods that you can eat. Okay? For every creature of the Most High is good, nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified by the word of the Most High in prayer. But let's also look at the word sanctified. All right? The Apostle Elders of Great Millstone tell us to look up words. Sanctified, Strong's G37 Haigiazo, has outlined biblical usage. To render or acknowledge or to be venerable or hollow, to separate from profane things and dedicate to the Most High. Wait, what else do we read about separating? Leviticus 11:47 again. To make a difference, or in other words, a separation between what? The unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. All right? So you don't talk about, so you can't use that scripture to say that you can eat anything. All right? This scripture is talking about people that would say you can't eat lawful foods, when Apostle Paul mentioned that. All right? But let's go to another one. This is the book of Acts, chapter 10, starting at verse 9. And it says, on the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh to the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance. Keep that in mind, a trance. Verse 11, and saw heaven open, and a certain vessel descending upon him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. Verse 14, but Peter said, not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again a second time, what the Most High hath cleansed, that call not thou common. All right, so Christians like to use this verse to say you can eat all types of foods. But this is not what this verse is saying. Let's take a look further down. All you have to do is look further down in this chapter. Remember, it said Apostle Peter fell into a trance and this stuff was happening. Basically, he had a vision. Acts 10:25 now says, and as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him. And Cornelius is an Israelite, by the way. It says, met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. And when you look up this word, another nation, in the Greek, all right, it basically goes into meaning one of another tribe. All right, but that's another lesson for another day. You can't use this scripture to say that God loves everybody still. You can't use that. All right, but it says, but the Most High hath showed me, listen up, but the Most High hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. You see? So when he said that the Most High is cleansed, not called out, now common is talking about a man. Once again, when the Lord told Peter, don't call what he cleansed common, it wasn't referring to food, it was referring to men, and specifically Israelite foreigners. Okay? Is the men it was referring to. Okay? This doesn't mean you can eat any type of food you want. Breaking the laws in general is what sin is, including eating abominable food. You see? And this is 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So sin is when you break the law, statutes, and commandments. So yes, you are committing sin if you eat abominable foods as well. Okay, like pork, shrimp, lobster, crab, etc. All right. So no, we can't eat anything, but there are foods that we can eat, man. All right. So we're rolling with a quick lesson through the spirit. All right. We're willing to edifying to any newcomers out there, but giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Hakwadash, that belongs to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, every well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. Shalom to the elect.